You're listening to Voice of Rockefeller. Subscribe if you're ready to hear the truth most people choose to ignore.
Consider for a moment the architecture of a day. Most men see it as a container for their labor, a space to be filled with the necessary motions of existence. They awaken, they toil, they rest, and they repeat. They see the sunrise and the sunset as the unchangeable bookends of an unchangeable reality. This is a profound and common error. It is the error of the passive mind, the mind that accepts the world as it is presented. I tell you now, a day is not a container. It is a quarry. It is a field of unhewn stone, and you alone are the sculptor. In your hands, you hold the tools of your own making. These tools are not the gross instruments of the laborer, but the fine, sharp implements of choice and decision. With these, you will either carve a monument to your own ambition or a testament to your own mediocrity. The question, then, is not what the day will bring to you, but what you will bring to the day. What will you carve from the raw material of these 24 hours? Will it be a thing of strength, of purpose, of enduring value? Or will it be a formless mass, a testament to indecision and wasted potential? You see, each day, without exception, presents an opportunity for a subtle, almost imperceptible, yet infinitely powerful act of creation. It is an opportunity to refine the instrument that is yourself, to sharpen the blade of your intellect, to temper the steel of your will. It is a chance to elevate the entire enterprise of your life onto a higher, more solid, and more commanding plane of existence. But this elevation, this ascent, does not occur by chance. It is not a gift of providence or a stroke of good fortune. It is the result of a deliberate, calculated, and unyielding act of will. It is a campaign, a war, waged on the battlefield of your own character. And it is a war that is won not in a single, glorious battle, but in 1,000 small, silent victories. The greatest lesson I have learned, a lesson forged in the crucible of commerce and competition, is this. Success, true and lasting success, is not the product of grand gestures or heroic feats. It is the slow, silent accumulation of a few, simple and unwavering disciplines, practiced with religious devotion every single day. It is the compound interest of character. Failure, on the other hand, is not the result of a single, catastrophic event. It is the cumulative effect of 1,000 small, seemingly insignificant errors in judgment, repeated with the same mindless consistency. The difference, the vast and immeasurable chasm between the man who builds an empire and the man who inherits the wind, lies in the microscopic decisions of the day-to-day. It is not the mountain, but the grain of sand. It is not the storm, but the steady, relentless drip of water that wears away the stone. It is the small, almost invisible choices, the ones we so often dismiss as trivial, that over the great expanse of time carve the deepest channels in the landscape of our lives. I have, through long and careful observation, distilled this principle into 10 fundamental areas of daily improvement. These are not suggestions. They are laws. They are the fixed and immutable mechanics of a life of consequence. We will move through them with the swiftness and precision of a well-oiled machine. For our purpose here is not to linger on theory, but to acquire the tools for immediate and practical application. The first and most foundational of these laws is the daily and deliberate cultivation of your attitude. Understand this. Your attitude is not a mere emotion, a fleeting mood, or a passing fancy. It is the very lens through which you perceive the world. It is the foundational stratum upon which the entire edifice of your life is constructed. If you improve it, even by a fraction of a degree each day, you will find that the world itself begins to bend to your will. You might be tempted to say, as so many do, that an attitude is a private affair, a matter of personal feeling with no consequence beyond the confines of your own mind. This is a dangerous and self-serving delusion. Your attitude is not simply how you feel. It is how you see. It is the silent, invisible force that shapes your interpretation of every event, every encounter, every challenge, and every opportunity. It is the master algorithm that governs your approach to the complex and often brutal calculus of life. And it is a force with a dual polarity. It is a magnet, and its pull is absolute. A properly calibrated attitude, an attitude of calm, controlled, and strategic optimism, will draw to you the resources, the allies, and the opportunities necessary for your advancement. A negative, complaining, or victimized attitude will, with the same unerring certainty, repel them. It will erect an invisible, yet impenetrable, barrier between you and the very things you claim to desire. Consider the man who is perpetually aggrieved, the man who finds fault in every success and injustice in every setback. His world is a litany of complaints, a chorus of grievances. He is a prophet of his own doom, and his prophecies are always fulfilled. How much success, how much loyalty, how much genuine progress do you imagine such a man can attract? The answer is, of course, none. His negativity is a poison, not only to his own spirit, but to the spirits of all those who are unfortunate enough to enter his orbit. He is a black hole, and he will pull all light and all hope into his own crushing gravity. On the other hand, consider the man whose attitude is a finely tuned instrument of power. He is not a fool. He is not a Pollyanna, blind to the harsh realities of the world. He is a strategist. He understands that a positive, forward-looking, and solution-oriented attitude is not a matter of temperament, but of tactics. It is a weapon, and he wields it with skill and precision. People are drawn to such a man, not because he is cheerful, but because he is effective. They wish to be associated with his strength, to be illuminated by his clarity, to share in the spoils of his inevitable victories. They will work for him, they will fight for him, and they will clear his path, often without him even having to ask. Therefore, if you wish to change your life, you must begin by changing the very lens through which you view it. If you improve your attitude, even by the smallest of margins, each and every day, you will find that doors of opportunity, doors you never even knew existed, will begin to swing open as if by an unseen hand. Perhaps today you will choose to cultivate a quiet, unshakable patience, a refusal to be rattled by the petty dramas and minor irritations of the day. Perhaps tomorrow you will focus on a more profound and strategic form of optimism, not the blind hope of the fool, but the calculated confidence of the man who has done his homework and knows his own strength. The change will not be sudden. It will not be dramatic. It will be a slow, steady, and almost imperceptible process of accretion. You will improve it piece by piece, day by day, like a mason laying bricks. Today, a small measure of gratitude. Tomorrow, a touch more resilience in the face of adversity. The next day, a conscious and deliberate effort to seek the solution hidden within every problem, rather than dwelling on the problem itself. Each day, you will add another small, perfectly placed brick to the foundation of a superior attitude. And before you know it, you will have constructed a fortress, a citadel of the mind, strong, silent, and impregnable. And I tell you this with the certainty of a man who has witnessed it 1,000 times. When your attitude improves, everything else, without exception, will follow. Your business, your relationships, your health, your very destiny will be transformed. Next, you must, as a matter of the highest priority, work on your communication skills, and you must do so every single day. This is not a matter of social grace or personal charm. It is a matter of power. It is a fundamental and non-negotiable component of a successful and influential life. Why? Because the entire machinery of human endeavor, from the most intimate of family conversations to the most complex of international treaties, is lubricated by the oil of communication. The quality of your life will be directly proportional to the quality of your communication. The better you are at it, the more smoothly your affairs will run, the more loyal your allies will be, the more formidable your enterprise will become, and the more profound your influence will be on the world around you. Now, let me be clear. When I speak of communication, I am not speaking of the mere act of talking. In fact, some of the most powerful and effective communicators I have ever known were men of few words. Their power did not lie in their eloquence, but in their silence. They understood that the most important part of communication is not speaking, but listening. They listened with a focused, almost predatory intensity. They listened with a strategic empathy, not to be kind, but to understand the motivations, the fears, the desires, and the weaknesses of the man sitting across the table. They listen not to respond, but to comprehend. You see, true communication is not a monologue. It is a duel. It is a two-way street, a delicate and often dangerous dance of expressing your own ideas with surgical precision while simultaneously and accurately deciphering the ideas and intentions of others. And this skill, like any other, can be honed and perfected through daily, deliberate practice. Perhaps today you will work on the simple, yet profoundly difficult, art of being a better listener. You will silence the chatter in your own mind, and you will give your full and undivided attention to the person who is speaking. Tomorrow, you will practice the art of concise and powerful expression. You will learn to strip your language of all excess, to say what you mean in the fewest and most effective words possible. The day after that, you will work on the subtle and often misunderstood art of non-aggressive persuasion. You will learn to make your point, to win your argument, without creating an enemy in the process. Each day, you will chip away at the rough, unrefined edges of your communication style, and you will slowly, but surely, transform yourself into a man who, when he speaks, the world falls silent to listen. And here is the true, and often hidden, power of this skill. When you communicate better, you influence more. When you influence more, you lead better. When you lead better, you inspire, not through cheap sentiment or empty rhetoric, but through the sheer, unadorned power of your clarity and your vision. You will move men to action, not by shouting, but by speaking in a voice so clear, so confident, and so resonant with truth that they have no choice but to follow. Have you ever found yourself embroiled in a conflict, a misunderstanding, a costly and unnecessary dispute, born from the simple, yet catastrophic, failure of communication? Perhaps you believe you said one thing, while the other party heard something entirely different. A small, almost laughable misalignment of words that blossoms into a large and venomous problem. Now, imagine if you were to improve your communication, even by a small fraction, each and every day. How many of those costly misunderstandings could you avert? How many of those bitter conflicts could you resolve before they even begin? How much more trust, how much more loyalty, how much more efficiency could you build into the very fabric of your relationships, both personal and professional? It is a question that demands your most serious consideration. Next, you must commit yourself to the daily and rigorous improvement of your self-discipline. This is not a suggestion. It is a command. For self-discipline is the very bridge that connects the ethereal realm of your goals to the solid, unyielding reality of your accomplishments. It is the raw, unglamorous, and often brutal ability to do what must be done, when it must be done, whether you feel like it or not. It is the capacity to force yourself to soldier on, to keep marching, even when the road is hard, the weather is foul, and every fiber of your being is screaming for you to stop. And let me tell you this, with all the certainty of a mathematical proof. Without self-discipline, success is not merely difficult, it is impossible. You may possess the most brilliant and audacious goals in the world. You may be blessed with an intellect that borders on genius. You may have at your disposal all the talent, all the resources, and all the connections that a man could ever desire. But if you lack the cold, hard, unbending discipline to follow through, to execute your plans with relentless, unwavering consistency, then all of your other gifts are nothing more than dust in the wind. They are sound and fury, signifying nothing. Self-discipline is a muscle. It is not a gift, it is a faculty. And like any muscle, it grows stronger only through consistent and progressively challenging exercise. You can, and you must, improve it a little every single day. Perhaps today, you will discipline yourself to rise from your bed a mere 15 minutes earlier than your habit dictates. It is a small, almost trivial act, but it is a victory. It is a declaration of war against the tyranny of your own inertia. Tomorrow, you will discipline yourself to engage in some form of vigorous physical exercise, even if your body protests, even if your mind invents 1,000 plausible excuses for you to remain sedentary. The next day, you will discipline yourself to maintain an unbroken focus on a single, important task, to resist the siren's song of distraction, to shut out the noise of the world, and to consecrate your attention to the work at hand. Each of these small, seemingly insignificant acts of discipline, when added together, day after day, week after week, will create a result so massive, so profound, that it will border on the miraculous. Now here is a crucial distinction that most men fail to grasp. Self-discipline is not merely a matter of willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. It is a shallow well that can and will run dry. The true art of self-discipline lies not in the exertion of will, but in the creation of habit. You see, when an action becomes a habit, a deeply ingrained and automatic response, it no longer requires the same costly expenditure of discipline. It becomes a part of you, as natural and as effortless as breathing. Therefore, a significant portion of your daily work on self-discipline must be dedicated to the slow, patient, and deliberate construction of habits that support and advance your goals. For example, if you make it a habit to read 10 pages of a book that challenges and expands your mind every single day, you no longer need to rely on the fickle and unreliable faculty of willpower to ensure your continued intellectual growth. The habit itself becomes the engine of your progress, and your discipline is freed up to be deployed on other, more challenging fronts. I once knew a young man of extraordinary talent. He possessed a quick and inventive mind, a charismatic personality, and a seemingly limitless reservoir of potential. But he was a slave to his own impulses. He lacked the fundamental anchor of discipline. He would embark on new ventures with a fiery and infectious enthusiasm, only to abandon them at the first sign of difficulty or boredom. He was a moth, drawn to the flickering flame of the next shiny object, the next new idea, leaving a trail of half-finished projects and squandered opportunities in his wake. As a result, for all his brilliance, he made no real, tangible progress in any direction. One day, I took it upon myself to sit him down, and I spoke to him with the unvarnished frankness that the situation demanded. I told him, "Young man, you are a ship without a rudder. You have a magnificent sail, but you are at the mercy of every passing wind. You must work on your discipline. You must train yourself, as a soldier trains for battle, to see a thing through to its conclusion, to stick with it, even when it is hard, even when it is tedious, even when the initial thrill has long since faded." And to his credit, the young man heeded my advice. He started small. He chose one simple, manageable task, and he disciplined himself to complete it from start to finish. It was a small victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. And from that single, hard-won victory, he began to build. He started to chain together small successes, to forge a new habit of completion. Over time, slowly, but inexorably, he developed the iron discipline required to follow through on the big things, the important things, the things that truly mattered. Today, he is a man of significant accomplishment, a leader in his field, a testament to the transformative power of a disciplined mind. And he will tell you, without a moment's hesitation, that the single most important factor in his success was not his talent, not his intellect, not his connections, but the simple, unglamorous, and absolutely essential virtue of self-discipline. Another, and equally critical, method for the improvement of your mind is the systematic and ruthless interrogation of your own limiting beliefs. You see, for many, perhaps for most, the chains that bind them are not forged of external circumstance, but of internal conviction. They are held captive, not by the world, but by the stories they tell themselves about the world and about their own place in it. They believe, with a certainty that is as tragic as it is unshakable, that they are incapable of achieving a certain thing, simply because they have never achieved it before, or worse, because some fool, at some point in their past, had the audacity to tell them that they were not good enough. But these beliefs, these self-imposed limitations, are nothing more than thoughts, and thoughts, I assure you, can be changed. Therefore, each day, you must engage in a conscious and deliberate campaign to identify, to challenge, and to replace your limiting beliefs with beliefs that are empowering, expansive, and aligned with your ultimate purpose. Instead of the weak and self-defeating thought, "I cannot do this," you will install the strong and resourceful thought, "I am in the process of learning how to do this." Instead of the poisonous and paralyzing thought, "I will never be successful," you will cultivate the calm and confident thought, I am on the path to success, and my arrival is a matter of time. Each day, you will improve your mindset, even by the smallest fraction, and over time, you will find that your entire perception of reality, your fundamental outlook on the great and terrible pageant of life, will be utterly and irrevocably transformed. I once knew a man who was a prisoner of his own mind. He was a man of considerable intelligence and ability, but his mind was a dark and forbidding place, a landscape dominated by the towering specters of negativity and fear. He saw every obstacle as an insurmountable barrier, every setback as a final and irreversible verdict of failure. As a result, he was trapped in a state of perpetual stagnation. No matter how hard he thrashed and struggled, he could not break free from the invisible cage of his own making. One day, I took the time to sit with him, and I spoke to him not as a judge, but as a physician. I told him, "You are suffering from a sickness of the mind. You must work on your mindset. You must starve your negative thoughts and feed your positive ones. You must stop focusing on what is wrong, and you must, with all the force of your will, begin to focus on what is possible." He took my diagnosis to heart. He began a course of treatment, a regimen of small, daily exercises. He started each morning by reading a few pages from a book that was uplifting and instructive. He ended each day by cataloging, in a simple ledger, the things for which he was grateful. He began to consciously and deliberately shift his focus, to move his attention away from the problem and onto the solution. Over time, his mindset, the very chemistry of his thoughts, began to transform. And as his mind transformed, so too did his life. He became a man who was more confident, more resilient, and ultimately more successful than he had ever dreamed possible. And it all began with the simple, daily practice of improving the quality of his own thoughts. Next, we must turn our attention to the matter of time. We must learn to manage this most precious and unforgiving of resources with the precision and foresight of a master chess player. For time is the one commodity that is distributed with perfect and ruthless equality. The beggar and the king, the fool and the sage, we are all allotted the same 24 hours in a day. The difference, the vast and consequential difference, lies in how we choose to invest that capital. Time, you see, is a currency that can only be spent once. Once a moment is gone, it is gone forever. It cannot be recovered, it cannot be replaced, it cannot be redeemed. Therefore, if you wish to achieve anything of significance in this life, if you wish to build an enterprise that will outlast you, you must become a master of the art and science of time management. The good news, and it is very good news indeed, is that this is a skill that can be learned, practiced, and perfected through small, incremental improvements every single day. Perhaps today, you will work on the fundamental discipline of setting clear and unambiguous priorities. You will identify the one or two tasks that, if completed, will have the greatest positive impact on your long-term goals, and you will consecrate the best hours of your day to their execution. Tomorrow, you will wage a relentless war on distraction. You will identify and eliminate the time-wasting activities, the pointless interruptions, and the trivial demands that divert your focus and squander your energy. The next day, you will practice the difficult, but absolutely essential, art of saying no. You will learn to politely, but firmly decline any request, any invitation, any demand on your time that does not align with your highest and most important objectives. Each of these small, daily improvements in the management of your time will compound upon one another. And before you know it, you will find yourself achieving more in less time and with less effort than you ever thought possible. You will be focusing your energies, like a magnifying glass focusing the rays of the sun, on the things that truly matter, the things that move the needle, the things that build the empire. Tell me, how often do you find yourself in a state of frantic, yet unproductive busyness? How often do you reach the end of a long and exhausting day, only to realize that you have spent your precious and finite time on a flurry of trivial activities, while the truly important tasks, the ones that hold the key to your future, have been pushed to the side once again? You see, there is a profound difference between being busy and being productive. The anthill is busy. The beehive is productive. And that is why the daily and rigorous improvement of your time management is not a luxury, but a necessity. It is about focusing on the right things at the right time and in the right way. One of the most effective, and yet remarkably simple, techniques for mastering your time is to begin each day with a written plan. Take a few quiet moments each morning, before the chaos of the day descends, and map out your priorities with the cool, detached clarity of a general planning a battle. What are the most important hills that must be taken today? What are the tasks that can and should be delegated to others? What are the activities that can and should be eliminated entirely? And here is a key, a small but crucial detail that most men overlook. Do not just plan your work. Plan your rest. You see, rest is not the enemy of action. It is its partner. It is the sharpening of the axe. If you do not take the time to strategically recharge your physical and mental batteries, you will inevitably burn out. Your productivity will decline, your judgment will falter, and your empire will crumble. Therefore, you must manage your time in a way that incorporates both focused, intensive periods of productivity and deliberate, restorative periods of rest. I have, over the course of my long and varied career, encountered countless individuals who have struggled with the management of their time. They come to me with the same tired complaint, the same weak and self-serving excuse. I just don't have enough time to get everything done. And I tell them, with a patience that is born of endless repetition, you have exactly the same amount of time as I do. You have exactly the same amount of time as any man who has ever built anything of value. The issue is not the quantity of your time, but the quality of your management. So, if you wish to improve your life, if you wish to build a legacy that will stand the test of time, you must begin by improving the way you manage your time. It is a daily practice, a never-ending process of refinement and optimization. And with each passing day that you get a little better at it, a little more efficient, a little more ruthless in the protection of your focus, you will find that the great and complex machinery of your life begins to run more smoothly, more powerfully, and more profitably than ever before. Next, you must, as a matter of daily and non-negotiable discipline, commit yourself to the continuous and systematic expansion of your knowledge. I tell you this with all the certainty of a man who has built his fortune on the bedrock of information. The world is in a state of perpetual and accelerating change. The methods, the technologies, the very rules of the game are constantly being rewritten. If you are not learning, you are not standing still. You are falling behind. And in the unforgiving arena of commerce, to fall behind is to perish. The more you know, the more you can do. The more you can do, the more value you can bring to the marketplace. And the more value you bring to the marketplace, the greater your rewards will be. It is a simple and unassailable equation. So, if you wish to remain not just relevant, but dominant in your chosen field, you must improve your knowledge every single day without fail. How does one accomplish this? The methods are as simple as they are effective. You read, you listen, you study. Every day, you must make a conscious and deliberate commitment to learn something new, something that will make you more effective, more insightful, and more formidable. Perhaps today, you will read an in-depth article, not a superficial headline, about a new development in your industry. Tomorrow, you will listen to a lecture, an audio recording of a man who has achieved a level of mastery in a field that is of interest to you. The next day, you will enroll in a course. You will seek out a mentor. You will take a concrete step to acquire a new and valuable skill. Each of these small, daily investments in your own intellectual capital will compound over time, and you will soon find that you have built a formidable arsenal of knowledge, a deep and ever-growing reservoir of skill that will make you more resilient, more adaptable, and more prepared for whatever challenges and opportunities the future may hold. And here is a critical point that is often missed, especially by the young. The process of learning does not end when you leave the halls of a formal educational institution. In fact, that is precisely when the most important and consequential learning begins. You see, a formal education will, if you are lucky, provide you with a living, but it is a self-directed, lifelong education that will make you a fortune. The most successful men I have ever known, the true captains of industry, the builders of empires, are, without exception, voracious and insatiable lifelong learners. They never stop asking questions. They never stop seeking out new information. They never stop sharpening the blade of their intellect because they understand, at a visceral level, that the more they learn, the more they can achieve. I was fortunate enough, early in my career, to come under the influence of a man named Mr. Schoaf. He was, to my young and impressionable mind, one of the wisest and most knowledgeable men I had ever met. But he had not been born that way. He had not been granted his wisdom by some stroke of genetic luck. He had forged it, day by day, through a relentless and unwavering dedication to the process of learning. He once told me in a moment of quiet and profound instruction, "Jim, the more you learn, the more you earn." It was a simple and almost crude formulation, but it struck me with the force of a revelation. I took his words to heart. I began to read with a new and desperate intensity. I listened to recordings of successful men. I attended seminars on business and finance. I did anything and everything I could to fill the vast and empty spaces in my own knowledge. And you know what? Mr. Schoaf was right. The more I learned, the more opportunities seemed to materialize before me, as if by magic. The more I understood, the more confident my decisions became, the more profitable my ventures grew. And the same, I assure you, will be true for you. Next, there is never a day, not a single one, on which it is acceptable to neglect the diligent and strategic management of your finances. You see, your financial condition is not a random variable, a matter of luck or fate that is visited upon you from on high. It is a direct and unvarnished reflection of your habits, your discipline, and your understanding of the fundamental laws of money. And just like any other critical area of your life, it requires your daily, focused, and intelligent attention. Whether your goal is to extricate yourself from the suffocating grip of debt, to systematically build a fortress of wealth, or to simply create a greater degree of financial security and freedom for yourself and your family, the process begins with the same, small, consistent, and daily improvements. Now here is a truth that may be difficult to hear, but it is a truth nonetheless. Most people, the vast and overwhelming majority of people, do not understand money. They have been trained from a young age in the art of earning it, but they are almost entirely ignorant in the far more important arts of managing it, preserving it, and most crucially, multiplying it. And as a direct result of this ignorance, they find themselves in a state of perpetual and soul-crushing financial struggle, no matter how much or how little they earn. But here is the good news, the liberating truth at the heart of the matter. You can change your financial destiny. You can improve your financial situation a little bit each day through the application of a few simple yet profoundly powerful principles. Perhaps today you will take the first and most crucial step of all. You will begin to track your expenses. You will, for the first time, gain a clear and accurate picture of where your money is actually going, rather than where you imagine it is going. Tomorrow, you will use this newfound clarity to create a simple yet effective budget. You will create a plan for your money, a set of rules that will ensure you are living within, or better yet, below your means. The next day, you will take the momentous step of automating your savings. You will arrange for a small, predetermined percentage of your income to be automatically transferred into a separate account, an account that is dedicated to your long-term financial goals, an account that you will not touch under any circumstances, short of a genuine life or death emergency. Each of these small, seemingly insignificant steps, when practiced with unwavering consistency, will compound upon one another. And before you know it, you will find that you are no longer a slave to your finances, but their master. Your money will be under your control, and it will be working for you silently and tirelessly, day and night. I tell you this from the perspective of a man who has managed sums of money that would stagger the imagination of most. It is not about how much money you make. It is about how much money you keep. You see, I have known men who have earned vast fortunes, only to see it all slip through their fingers like so much fine sand. They live a life of extravagant and ostentatious consumption, spending their money as fast or faster than they earn it. They are perpetually on the brink of financial ruin, living from one paycheck to the next, trapped on a gilded treadmill of their own making. But I have also known men of far more modest means, men who have earned a steady but unspectacular income, who have, through the simple virtues of thrift, discipline, and prudent investment, managed to build significant and lasting wealth. They have learned and applied the fundamental principles of financial management, and those principles, I assure you, are not a secret. They are available to anyone who has the intelligence to seek them out and the discipline to apply them. You do not need to be a financial genius, a Wall Street wizard, to take control of your financial destiny. You simply need to make a series of small, smart, and consistent decisions every single day. One of the most potent and yet elegantly simple pieces of financial advice I ever received was this: spend less than you earn and invest the rest. It is a formula of almost childish simplicity, but its power is incalculable. If you live by that principle, if you make it the unshakable cornerstone of your financial life, your future security is not a matter of hope, but of certainty. But here is the catch, the small, hard kernel of truth that most people are unwilling to swallow. It requires discipline. It requires the ability to delay gratification, to say no to the fleeting and superficial pleasures of today, in order to say yes to the profound and lasting freedom of tomorrow. And that ability, the ability to make wise and forward-thinking financial decisions, to manage your money with prudence and foresight, to invest in your own future, is something you can and must work on every single day. Have you ever looked at a statement from your bank, a summary of your financial activity, and found yourself asking, with a sense of bewilderment and dismay, where did it all go? That feeling, that sense of financial vertigo, is a clear and unmistakable signal. It is a sign that it is time for you to stop being a passive spectator in your own financial life, and to start being an active and engaged participant. It is time for you to take control of your money, instead of allowing it to control you. And it does not require a dramatic, life-altering overhaul. It requires only small, consistent, and intelligent improvements. Next, we must address the crucial and ongoing work of personal development. Here is a key, a fundamental principle that underpins all lasting success. Life is growth. If you are not growing, you are not standing still. You are dying. And if you are standing still in a world that is moving forward with ever-increasing velocity, you are, by definition, falling behind. Therefore, every single day, you must dedicate yourself to the task of becoming a better, stronger, and more capable version of yourself. This is not a pursuit of some unattainable ideal of perfection. It is a commitment to the process of progress. It is a relentless and never-ending campaign to improve who you are, how you think, and what you are capable of doing. Personal development is not a destination. It is a journey, a lifelong pilgrimage, and it is a journey that you cannot afford to neglect. Perhaps today, you will work on the fundamental skill of self-awareness. You will take a quiet and honest inventory of your own character, your strengths, your weaknesses, your habits, both productive and destructive, and the deep, often hidden tendencies that drive your behavior. Tomorrow, you will dedicate yourself to the acquisition of a new skill, something that will increase your value in the marketplace, or enrich your life in a personal and meaningful way. The next day, you will focus on the cultivation of your emotional intelligence. You will learn to observe, to understand, and to manage your own emotions, and to relate to the emotions of others with greater empathy and greater strategic insight. Each of these small, daily acts of self-improvement will contribute to your overall growth. And over time, you will find that you have, slowly but surely, sculpted yourself into the man you always knew in the deepest chambers of your heart that you could be. One of the most powerful and effective tools for driving and directing your personal development is the practice of setting clear, specific, and challenging goals. But here is the key, the critical distinction that separates effective goal setting from mere daydreaming. Your goals must be in perfect and harmonious alignment with your deepest values, your most fervent passions, and your ultimate sense of purpose. You see, the point of setting goals is not just to achieve more, but to become more. It is to become the kind of man who is capable of achieving those goals. And that process of becoming, that transformation of character, is something you can work on every single day. Perhaps today you will set a small and easily achievable goal to read one chapter of a book on personal development. Tomorrow, you will set a goal to practice a new and more productive habit for a mere 10 minutes. The next day, you will set a goal to take a few moments to quietly reflect on your progress, to assess what is working and what is not, and to adjust your course as needed. Each of these small, deliberate actions will move you forward, step by painful but necessary step, on your long and arduous journey of personal growth. Now, here is an important and often overlooked aspect of this process that you must understand. Personal development is not just about learning new things. It is also, and perhaps more importantly, about unlearning the things that no longer serve you. Sometimes, in order to grow, in order to move forward, you must have the courage to let go. You must have the strength to discard old and outdated habits. You must have the intellectual honesty to abandon old and limiting beliefs. You must have the willingness to dismantle the old and ineffective ways of thinking that are holding you back, that are keeping you trapped in a past that no longer exists. That is why personal development is, and must be, an ongoing and never-ending process. You are in a constant state of learning, of growing, of evolving. And the more you commit yourself to this process, the more you embrace the discomfort and the uncertainty of growth, the more you will find that your life, in every area, begins to improve, to expand, and to flourish. One of the most profound and transformative lessons I have learned about this process is this: you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you want to attract success into your life, you must first become a successful person in your habits, in your thinking, and in your actions. If you want to attract strong, loyal, and fulfilling relationships, you must first become the kind of person who is worthy of such relationships. If you want to attract abundance, you must first cultivate an abundant mindset, a deep and unshakable belief in the limitless possibilities of the world, and in your own ability to claim your share of them. And that process of becoming, of transforming yourself from the inside out, is something you can and must work on every single day. You can become more disciplined, more focused, more positive, and more powerful by making a simple and yet profound commitment to improve yourself just a little bit each and every day. Next, and this is of the utmost and non-negotiable importance, you must work on your purpose. You see, purpose is the rudder of the ship. It is the deep, silent, and invisible force that gives your life a direction, a meaning, a reason for being. It is the answer to the great and terrible question, why? It is the reason you rise from your bed in the morning, the fuel that drives you to press on, to endure, to keep fighting, even when the world is dark and the road ahead is uncertain. And here is the key. Your purpose is not a static object, a fixed point on a map that you discover once and for all. It is a living, breathing thing, and you must work on it every single day. You must constantly refine it. You must deepen your understanding of it. And you must, above all, live it out in every action you take, in every decision you make, in every word you speak. Now, some of you may be saying to yourselves, but I do not know what my purpose is. And that is perfectly acceptable. You see, purpose is not always a sudden revelation, a bolt of lightning from a clear blue sky. More often, it is a slow, gradual, and often painful process of discovery and development. It is something that you unearth, that you cultivate, that you build over time. And you can and must improve your connection to it a little every day. Perhaps today you will simply take some time for quiet, uninterrupted reflection. You will ask yourself in the silence of your own heart what is truly and deeply important to you. Not what society tells you should be important, not what your family or your friends expect of you, but what, in your own private and most honest estimation, truly matters. Tomorrow you will take one small, and perhaps even tentative, step in the direction of a dream that you have long held, but have been too afraid to pursue. The next day, you will make a conscious effort to align your daily actions with your most deeply held values. Each day, you will make some small and seemingly insignificant progress toward the goal of living a life that is not just successful, but meaningful. And before you know it, you will find that your purpose, which once seemed so vague and elusive, has become clearer, stronger, and more fulfilling than you could ever have imagined. Here is the thing about living a life of purpose. When you find it, when you align yourself with it, everything else seems to fall into place. Your work is no longer a chore, but a calling. Your relationships are no longer a source of conflict, but of strength. Your challenges are no longer seen as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth, as tests of your mettle, as stepping stones on your path. Purpose is the solid granite foundation upon which a truly fulfilling and consequential life is built. And it is something you can and must work on every single day. I once had the occasion to meet a man who, by all outward appearances, had everything a man could desire. He had immense wealth. He had achieved a remarkable degree of success in his chosen field, and he was a figure of public fame and admiration. But he was a man in profound and silent misery. He was adrift, lost in the vast and empty ocean of his own success. He could not understand why, with all his accomplishments, he felt so hollow, so devoid of joy. One day we found ourselves in a quiet and candid conversation, and I asked him a simple and direct question. "What is your purpose?" I asked. "What is the reason that you are doing all of this?" He could not answer. The question, for all its simplicity, had left him utterly speechless. He had spent so many years, so much of his life's precious energy, in the relentless pursuit of success, that he had lost sight of the reason why he had wanted it in the first place. I told him with a gentle but firm authority, "You must find your purpose, and once you have found it, you must live it every single day with all the passion and all the conviction you can muster." He took my advice to heart. He began a new and far more important journey. He began to focus his time, his resources, and his considerable talents on the things that truly mattered to him, on the things that resonated with the deepest chords of his being. He dedicated himself to helping others, to making a positive and lasting difference in the world, to living a life not just of success, but of significance. And do you know what happened? His entire life was transformed. He found a depth of happiness, a sense of fulfillment, and a quiet, inner peace that he had never known before. All the money, all the fame, all the success in the world could not buy him what he had found. And it all started with the simple, daily practice of connecting with and living out his purpose. Next, and this is a practice that will have a more immediate and profound impact on your daily experience than perhaps any other, you must work on the cultivation of gratitude. You see, gratefulness, true and deep gratefulness, is one of the most powerful and transformative emotions that a human being can experience. It has the almost magical ability to change your life, to change your very perception of reality, in ways that you cannot even begin to imagine. When you focus your attention, your conscious and deliberate attention, on the things for which you are grateful, you perform a subtle but immensely powerful act of mental alchemy. You shift your focus away from what is missing in your life, away from the endless and unsatisfying litany of your wants and desires, and you turn it, instead, toward what is already good, what is already present, what is already a source of strength and sustenance. And when you do that, when you make that mental shift, a strange and wonderful thing begins to happen. You start to attract more good into your life. The universe, it seems, rewards a grateful heart. Being grateful is a simple practice, a discipline that you can and must engage in every single day. And it does not require a great deal of time or effort. Perhaps today, you will simply take a quiet moment to appreciate the people in your life who support you, who believe in you, who make your journey a little less lonely. Tomorrow, you will focus your grateful attention on the small and often overlooked blessings that you so often take for granted. Your health, the roof over your head, the food on your table. The next day, you will take the even more challenging, but profoundly rewarding step of finding a reason to be grateful for the challenges, the hardships, the painful lessons that have helped you to grow, to become stronger, and to become wiser. When you make gratitude a daily practice, your mindset, the very lens through which you see the world, begins to shift from a perspective of scarcity, of lack, of not enough, to a perspective of abundance, of sufficiency, of more than enough. And over time, as this shift becomes more and more ingrained in the very fabric of your being, you will find that your entire outlook on life, your fundamental emotional state, has been transformed. Tell me, have you ever had a day where everything, absolutely everything, seemed to go wrong? A day where you were buffeted and battered by a relentless series of setbacks, frustrations, and disappointments. We have all been there. It is an unavoidable part of the human experience. But here is the secret, the hidden key that can unlock the prison of a bad day. Even on the worst of days, there is always, always something to be grateful for. Perhaps it is the hard-won lesson that you learned from a costly mistake. Perhaps it is the new and unexpected strength that you discovered in the process of overcoming a difficult challenge. When you train yourself to focus on finding the seed of gratitude in every experience, even the most painful and unwelcome ones, you transform them. You turn poison into medicine. You turn lead into gold. And that is the true and almost mystical power of this practice. Gratefulness is a force that multiplies. The more you practice it, the more you consciously and deliberately focus on the things for which you are grateful, the more you will find to be grateful for. It is like a snowball rolling down a long, snow-covered hill. It starts small, almost insignificantly, but with each passing day that you continue to practice, it gathers mass, it gathers momentum, and it becomes a larger and larger force in your life. And here is the best part of all. When you live in a state of gratitude, you become a magnet for the very things that you are grateful for. You create a positive, self-reinforcing cycle of abundance, of joy, and of fulfillment, a cycle that grows stronger and more powerful with each passing day. Now I must be clear about one thing. Being grateful is not just about feeling good. It is also about taking action. You see, when you are truly and deeply grateful for something, for the blessings that have been bestowed upon you, it creates a natural and powerful desire to give back, to contribute, to help others, to make a difference in the lives of those who are less fortunate. And that is another reason why this practice is so incredibly potent. It not only improves your own life, but it also inspires you, it compels you to improve the lives of others. When you make gratefulness a daily practice, it begins to change not just your perspective, but also your behavior. It has a way of softening the hard edges of our nature, of making us more generous, more patient, more compassionate, more human. You see, when you focus on what you have, when you truly and deeply appreciate the small and the large blessings in your life, you begin to release the cold, tight grip of scarcity, the gnawing, ever-present fear of not having enough. And that release, that liberation from fear, is one of the most powerful and transformative shifts that a man can make in his life. Because when you stop living in fear, you start living in abundance. And living in abundance, I tell you, is a far more pleasant and a far more profitable way to live. Gratefulness is a muscle, and like any muscle, it must be worked daily in order to grow strong. Every day, without fail, take a moment, just a moment, to quietly reflect on the things for which you are grateful. And they do not have to be grand or momentous things. Perhaps today you are grateful for the simple and often unnoticed beauty of the sunshine. Tomorrow you are grateful for the simple and yet profound fact that you have food on your table and a safe place to sleep. The next day you are grateful for the hard and even painful lessons that you have learned through your past mistakes and hardships. Whatever it is, find something. Even if it is small, even if it seems trivial, find it and focus on it. You see, the key is not the size or the significance of the thing for which you are grateful. The key is the act of being grateful itself. Now, I want to be perfectly clear about this. Being grateful does not mean ignoring your problems. It does not mean pretending that everything is perfect when it is clearly not. Life is, and always will be, full of challenges, of difficulties, of pain. But when you practice being grateful, you develop a new level of resilience, a new depth of strength that allows you to face those challenges without being broken by them. You learn to say, yes, this is hard. Yes, this is painful. But I am still grateful for the strength to endure it, for the opportunity to learn from it, for the simple and profound fact that I am still alive, still breathing, still in the game. You see, gratefulness shifts your focus, your precious and finite mental energy, away from what is wrong in your life and toward what is right. And that shift gives you the energy, the courage, and the perspective that you need to keep moving forward, to keep fighting, to keep building. There was a woman I knew, a woman of great character and integrity, who found herself in the midst of a very dark and difficult chapter in her life. She had lost her job, a position she had held for many years. Her marriage, a union she had once believed to be unshakable, had ended in a painful and bitter divorce. She was feeling lost, adrift, and utterly alone. Every day seemed like an insurmountable struggle, a bleak and joyless landscape of loss and despair. One day, we sat down together, and I spoke to her, not with pity, but with a quiet and firm instruction. I told her, you must find something, anything, for which to be grateful, even here, in the midst of this storm. At first, she looked at me as if I were mad. The idea seemed not just impossible, but almost insulting. But she was a woman of great discipline, and she was willing to try. She started small. Each day, she forced herself to write down one thing, just one thing, for which she was grateful, no matter how small or insignificant it seemed. Slowly, painfully, day by day, her perspective began to shift. It was not a sudden or dramatic transformation, but a gradual and almost imperceptible turning, like a great ship, slowly changing its course in the middle of a vast and empty ocean. She began to see glimmers of light where once she had seen only darkness. She began to see opportunities where once she had seen only obstacles. She started to rebuild her life, brick by painful but beautiful brick. And today, she is a woman who is happier, more successful, and more at peace with herself and with the world than she ever was before. And she will tell you, with a conviction that is born of hard-won experience, that it all started with the simple, daily practice of being grateful. Now, there is one more thing that I wish to emphasize about this powerful and transformative practice. It is contagious. When you live in a state of gratitude, when you exude an aura of quiet appreciation for the good things in your life, people around you notice. Your positive outlook, your refusal to be dragged down into the muck of negativity and complaint, inspires others to see the good in their own lives. Your generosity, which is a natural byproduct of a grateful heart, encourages others to be generous. Your deep and quiet appreciation for the gift of life itself has the power to lift others out of their own private hells of negativity and despair. So, when you practice gratefulness every single day, you are not just improving your own life. You are, in a small but significant way, improving the lives of everyone you come into contact with. And that, my friends, is a powerful and a beautiful thing. So I ask you to think about your life, right now, in this very moment. Think about the areas we have discussed. Your attitude, your communication, your discipline, your relationships, your mindset, your management of time, your finances, your personal development, your purpose, and your capacity for gratitude. How many of these critical areas of your life could benefit, not from a massive and disruptive overhaul, but from just a small, consistent and daily improvement? And what I ask you, what would your life look like? 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if you were to make a solemn and unbreakable commitment to making those small, daily improvements, day in and day out, without fail. And that is it. That is the great and simple secret to a life of lasting change and profound accomplishment. The key is not to be found in some grand, heroic, and unsustainable leap. It is to be found in the small, quiet, and consistent actions that you take every single day. That is where the real magic, the real transformation occurs. I have seen it with my own eyes, time and time again. The people who achieve the most extraordinary things, the people who build the most enduring legacies, are not the most talented, or the most brilliant, or the most lucky. They are the most consistent. They are the ones who commit themselves to the process, to the daily grind, to the slow and often unglamorous work of improving themselves, just a little bit, each and every day. They focus not on the distant and uncertain outcome, but on the immediate and controllable process. And they find, to their surprise, that success is not something they have to pursue. It is a natural and inevitable result of who they have become. Success is the natural and unavoidable consequence